you want to get any of my video materials? They're not copyrighted. Not copyrighted. Do you want to get any of my video materials? They're not copyrighted. Not copyrighted.
Bad luck, misfortune, superstitious belief, good luck or rebirth, and the sigh of relief. This is 13.
Hitler said, "Let me control the textbooks and I will control the state." You know, there's probably only a few dozen atheists in your city. If you announced in the newspaper or on radio, we're going to have an atheist meeting tomorrow night, 5 people would show up, right? The atheists know they cannot get a crowd together. So how are they going to spread their religion? Well, they can't do it like we do, the honest way. So they have to get these 4 or 5 key people involved in textbook selection committees, school boards, take over teachers' training colleges like John Dewey did, so you can train the next generation of teachers to be humanists. It only takes a few key people in a few key positions, and you can control what the kids are learning. They know about that. Hitler said, "Your child belongs to us." What are you? You already have your children. 1933, they got the children. 7 years later, 1940, these kids are in the army now, right? Hitler had an army, an incredible army. They nearly took over the world. One little bitty country. How did he do that? Well, young people. We got some people with the same philosophy here in America. They think the young people belong to the government. That's because they got the wrong philosophy. Children belong to God, and they're entrusted to parents. You know, there was a guy named John Silvan in Nebraska, had a church, he pastored a church. They came and locked him up. He refused to take a license for his church. Now, I don't agree with John Silvan and all the stuff he did, and I think he was kind of looking for the fight, but still, they came and padlocked the door to the church. He refused to accept the license. The guy who really got after John Silvan was the head of the Nebraska Board of Education and a senator from Nebraska named Hoagland. He went after Silvan big time. Hoagland, and I believe I have my facts right here, and Silvan's attorney were on the radio discussing this. This anti-Christian fella said, "These fundamentalist parents have no right to indoctrinate their children in their beliefs. We are preparing their children for the year 2000 and life in a global one-world society, and those children will not fit in." Hold it. They are preparing my children for something? No, sorry. I'm preparing my children to serve God. But these globalists have this idea in their head that we would be better off with one world government, one new world order. They really think that. That's their philosophy. They got it from their father, the devil. Yes. The devil wants new world order so that he can control everybody. He really wants to wipe out humanity. So he's going to get these local idiots to think, hey, if we reduce the population to, 2 billion, it will be fine. Well, then he's going to wipe them out. That's what the devil will do. And these guys that are having all their clubs, the top secret meetings and all that, they really are serious, folks. And they've made a lot of progress. But they're not the real enemy. The real enemy is Satan behind all this. We've got to keep this in perspective. They want to lower world population levels quickly. And one of the biggest obstacles is the teaching of creationism. Because evolution is a foundation philosophy for communism, for socialism, for Marxism, for the New World Order. If there's a God, then you can't have a New World Order, because people have rights that come from God. So they have to eliminate the God concept. So there's a real discrimination against creationism. Believe me, I'm in the thick of this one. I know what I'm talking about. Lodge, probably one of the key players. Now, the average guy in the Masons doesn't know what he's in. He thinks he does. But there's a secret club inside that secret club. They use that as their recruiting grounds because they know they have to keep quiet. They've taken all these oaths, yank my liver out and beat me on the head with it. Right? Tie me down by the lowest tide, onto a stake and cut my guts open and let the birds come eat me off the stake. Dumb oaths they take. Any Christian ought to get out of that group. But you can get in the Masonic Lodge and get clear up to 32nd degree and not know what you're in. You'll think it's a do-gooders club. And they do a lot of good for the community. I don't argue with that. But when you get to 33rd degree, you start to find out, wow, this is a satanic organization. Oh, sure is. All this time we've been talking about God. They're talking about Lucifer as God. Albert Pike ought to know. He was the leader of the entire Masonic Lodge. I mean, the world leader. He said, the Masonic religion should be, by all of us initiates of the highest degrees, maintained in the purity of the Luciferian doctrine. He was 33rd degree Mason, just like Bob Dole and Kemp. Masonic Lodge? Now look, I've got good friends that are in it. And I love you, and God loves you, and you're not my enemy. And I know you think you're in a do-gooders club, but you have been deceived. You're working for the devil and don't even know it. Get out of that. Jesus said, I've done nothing in secret. Why do they do all these secret meetings, secret handshake? You know, grab the second knuckle and stand just right and, you know, do all these secret motions to let them know, hey, I'm a Mason. Why? Jesus didn't do anything in secret. He did it openly. I think we need to come out from among them, be separate, saith the Lord. 2 Corinthians chapter 6. On the back of your dollar bill, there's an interesting symbol. You ever seen that before? You know what that says in Latin? Annuit queptis norbis ordo secularum, announcing the birth of the New World Order without God. What it says. You got to read Terry Cook's book. You've got it back there, don't you? Bud, on the table? His new one, right? It's about yay thick. About the all-seeing eye and what it means and how it all ties in with the New World Order. Ooh, Terry Cook has some great stuff on this. And I know all this stuff. I don't know it all, but I know a lot of it. I read a lot of it. But there's more to the picture that we're not seeing, I'm afraid. This pyramid's a fascinating building. We could go for a couple of days on this subject. You know, it's got 13 rows of stones representing the 13 blue lodges of the Masonic Lodge. You know, there's 32 feathers on the bird, 32nd degree Mason. 13 arrows, 13 berries, 13 stars. It's not because of the 13 colonies. Because of the Masonic Lodge. That's the purpose. By the way, the all-seeing eye represents Lucifer, the light bearer, the enlightened one. Notice it's not touching the pyramid. There's a gap in between, isn't there? Well, that's on purpose because Lucifer's not in charge of the world yet. He hasn't established his new world order. He's close. And in 1935, they put that on the dollar bill. I don't know, but I just wonder if maybe 1935 was the year the Antichrist was born. He'd be about the right age to be a world ruler now, wouldn't he? Just a guess. But why 1935? Interesting. By the way, they chose the pyramid, I think because probably the pyramid was God's symbol originally. So I couldn't prove this, but I have a strong hunch that possibly when God first made Adam and Eve, of course, they didn't have a Bible. So God gave them the whole gospel story in the stars. The zodiac constellations. Tremendous story in the zodiac. You ought to read the book on the back table about the zodiac. Tremendous. Of course, today it's all perverted into the horoscope and all that, but but it used to be the gospel plan. Start off with Virgo the Virgin, and you end with Leo the Lion. The Virgin brings forth the Son. He becomes the judge. The balance is in the hand and all that. It all ties in with Christianity. But then after the flood, the canopy of water was gone. They used to protect them. We covered that on videotape number 1. And so they couldn't see the stars quite as well. And God gave them a new Bible in stone. The Great Pyramid. I don't know about this. I just think maybe the Great Pyramid was built probably to be a testimony to the Lord. It might have been built by Noah and Shem after the flood. I don't know. But I think it's interesting. The Great Pyramid had originally 144,000 smooth, polished casing stones. You know, the Great Pyramid is 90 times the volume of the Sears Tower. By far the largest building in the world in volume. There's enough brick or stone in that one building to build a 10-foot high brick wall all the way around France. It's a big building. If you walked into the door to the Great Pyramid, you would go down the broad way that leads down to the pit. Or take the narrow way that goes up to the King's Chamber. The broad way and the narrow way. I read about that someplace. If you go up the narrow way, you end up on the 50th row of stones. 50, the year of Jubilee. There on the 50th row of stones is an empty tomb. In the tomb is a red granite coffin, the exact dimensions of the Ark of the Covenant. Interesting. No body in there. By the way, the top of the pyramid was never put in place. The chief cornerstone was rejected by the builders. Jesus Christ is the chief cornerstone. He's the stone cut out of the mountain without hands in the book of Daniel that smote the image on the feet. He's the stone of stumbling and the rock of offense. By the way, has 5 sides.